Alright, welcome to Just Magic the Gathering. I was looking at what I can do to... There's something I was thinking about offline was how I can improve my Landfall deck. My Landfall deck right now isn't... I mean, it's nice and it hits hard and fast, but there's cards that I feel are underutilized. Even though I threw the Badger Mole Cub in here, there's not a lot of utility on it. I mean, it just does for 2. It's a 2/2 that gets me the Earthbending 1, which is nice. And same with Toph. When I got the other Toph, I was pretty happy with that. So I guess for those that didn't watch the video, in my draft, I got a Toph. So what's the easiest way to look at that? PH? Yeah. Red-green. When Toph enters, you may discard a card. If you do, return target instant or sorcery card from your graveyard to your hand. So for 4, you get to pull something out of your graveyard. And whenever you cast a spell, I get to Earthbend 1. If it was a lesson, I get an additional +1/+1 counter on that land. That's a more rare card. I definitely like this Toph over this Toph. This is a mono green deck where its roots were from a prior mono green deck that was my Landfall. This deck had... I pulled some Ice Till Explorers. In some ways, I almost regret spending these tokens because it's nice in that I get the additional land on each turn. And stripping the deck down from... Because I had this splashed red-green, and I'll show that in just a second. Because this card allows me to play an additional land on each of my turns, and it allows me to play from my graveyard. So for 4, it basically gets me the advantage of my walk-in closet, and he's a 2/4 creature. And the main problem I have with this card is its landfall. I mean, the deck is based on landfall, and whenever a land I control enters, I mill a card. And so many times, it's like, I wanted that instant. I wanted that creature. More than once, I've been creature shy on a death-heavy opponent that the Ice Till Explorer almost shot me in the foot on. So, and Saz's Catstroy? I really like how this card has performed in this deck. It doubles the number of counters on it, so when he enters, you may search your library for a bird or basic land card. So I've never really used him for the landfall aspect, but he can allow me to pull like my traveling chocobo. He allows me to pull my birds and lands in a pinch, I guess, if necessary. But when he attacks, I can put a +1/+1 counter on target creature and then double the number of +1/+1 counters on that creature. So just like my Mossborn Hydra doubles when he attacks, I can almost like double my double. And same with Tifa. It works well on a couple guards, even my Saz's Chocobo. I was wondering about combining the 2 changes. The racetrack I was unhappy with its performance. There's some things I like about how I updated the deck, my Landfall deck. So if I go into Landfall 2, the one thing about dueling is if I search for additional land... How did I fail that? Zell. I used to run Zell in this deck, and I loved it. He bumps up when I play. He allows me to double land drop, and at the end of my end step, I can return a land if I want to be able to double land drop next round. So I was really happy with how Zell performed. I play an additional land this turn. Play an additional land on each of your turns. For 6, look at the top 6 cards of your library. You may reveal a creature card with mana value less than or equal to the number of lands you control from among them and put it onto the battlefield, the rest onto the bottom in a random order. So, I am in a way glad to be looking at this, or maybe I should have done some of this offline, because, or going back to the deck building process is one of my more favorite parts of the game. I was looking to actually resplash and go dual color. I don't really have the tokens to be able to fill out some of the lands into the more rares that are nicer. But yeah, I was thinking of taking out both Toffs and both Badger Mole Cubs, throwing in all 4 Zells. Just one moment, I have a kitty. Alright. He's bored kitty today for some reason and doing the in and out thing. Yeah, if I throw Zell in, I like the Earthbender Ascension, because it allows me to get the trample. I was wondering about maybe taking out the Lufeng. I wanted Saws. Since I have 2 of him, so I'm just wondering about taking out Lufeng. The Rock Avalanche. And I wanted the other Toph. If I'm going to be splashing dual. Just trying to figure out how better to make this more consistent. The shared roots is nice. I can take out one of my Ordeals of Nylea. The thing about that pairing basically perfectly with the Mossborn Hydra. But now, I mean, it can also pair, if I can get the Trample, and with Saws. So that does round it back to 60 if I just were to swap out my lands now. Because yeah, Zell will allow me to start double dropping. The one thing that I was actually looking at, I only have 2 rare tokens and I hate to burn the end of them. I also just realized I did not copy this deck, so I'm going to discard my changes. If anything, I should be updating my old one. So if I go into decks, the one thing that I was also looking at for helping that deck is the Terra Symbiosis. Because when I put the counters on, so if I were to take like a 4/4 and turn it into an 8/8, the Terra Symbiosis will give me 4 card draw off of it. I don't have much for card draw in there, and I was thinking that this would be a very nice addition for, yeah, because I've got that to work with this deck, and it was pretty nice how it pulled through or pulled out. The Terra Symbiosis. I was thinking about exchanging for my last 2 tokens, which is probably a poor idea, but if this underperforms, I'm gonna probably kick myself later. I mean, it's not easy come, easy go, because they are pretty hard to grind, but yeah. So with that, I'm gonna clobber my last Landfall deck. Rename this one to Landfall, and then duplicate it for my replacement. So I'm not sure that was the greatest idea. Back to, I decided on top. I decided on Zell. I decided on Zaz. And that was about, I think, all I did do. If I take out both Lufangs. The thing about the getting the mana ramp going, I kind of like the Rock Avalanche. I was wondering the legitimacy of pulling one of those. Still leaves me too high. If anything, I was also entertaining. I have the token to pick up a 4th traveling chocobo. And even like another walk-in closet if I wanted to go that route. I was wondering in some ways if I can pull a little higher. One of the things I was thinking about the shared routes. I did get rid of... I already dropped one of the Ordeal Annihilias. Oh, with Zell being legendary, I can definitely get away with only 3 of him in the deck. Earthbender Ascension. If I drop both shared roots, I could pick up the Chocobo. Alright, so that rounds me back out to 60. And 22 creatures, 15 non-creatures, and 23 lands. So it is a little land heavy. Oh, and I wanted the Terra Symbiosis. Doom boom. Need to pull 2 more cards out. Yeah, I decided on top. There we go. Because I threw in the other top. I did weight the deck a little higher, more into 4s. And I need to balance out my reds. So at this point I just need to look to my lands and see what kind of cool lands I have. Yeah. Need to eliminate that word from my library. This land enters taps unless you control a plane or a lands. Not necessarily what I'm looking for. Oh, cheer. Some of these are really nice. This land enters taps unless you control an island or a swamp. This land... Discover 4. Without paying its mana cost to put it into your hand. I'm not a huge fan of the... I have seen that work effectively, though. In a way, I'm going to actually take this offline and, yeah, get back to it here in a minute. Alright. I did take a minute here just offline to try and shape up my lands. I'm kind of happy with how it entered. I had a starting town, so this land enters tapped unless it's your first, second, or third turn of the game, and in a pinch, it'll provide 1 mana of any color if I sacrifice 1 life. So I had 2 Verges, which I was pretty happy with. It's their mountains, unless I control a mountain or forest, which point it can be a dual land. And then I had one of the dual lands that gave me the Scry. I did basically then just split the remaining forests into mountains. Since I have all of the Evolving Wilds and Terramorphic Expanses, I should be able to get whatever mana I want. I was wondering if I should weight more heavily towards forest, because overall the deck is more green than red. So if I wanted to be able to play 3 or 4 things on one round and needing multiple forests in order to cover that, that will probably be the case, but with that being said, everything basically just costs the 1, and because I have the Toph with needing 2, I don't know. I was questioning how best to split that. Sorry. I also did decide to take out a Sausage Chocobo and pick up a walk-in closet. But with that being said, do that real quick. And call it good. I'm interested to see how the changes perform in the deck, because I am weighted a little more heavily: 19 creatures, 18 non-creatures, 23 lands, and yeah, I think that overall the changes are going to be an improvement. But with that being said, I look forward to playing some Magic and giving it a try.